Hi, everyone. I'm Sadie, the network coordinator with the CSA Innovation Network. I'm located right outside of Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm really happy to introduce today Mike from the GrownBy and Farm Generations Co-op and Amy from Marketlink, along with Annie from River Queen Greens down in New Orleans. We're all going to be chatting about accepting SNAP online as a CSA farm today. So happy to have this panel for our CSA Ideas Lab. And I did want to also mention that it's CSA week right now. So we're really glad to have this specially scheduled CSA Ideas Lab happening during CSA Ideas Week. It started yesterday and it goes all the way through next Sunday. So stay tuned on our social media at the CSA Innovation Network on Instagram and Facebook for the rest of the week. Today, GrownBy is doing an account takeover on our accounts, and we'll have other organizations and farms highlighted throughout the rest of this week. Happy CSA week to all, definitely. Happy to have everyone here on the line. So I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Mike and Amy to get us started talking about SNAP and food access within CSA today.
Great, thank you very much. Let me pull up my slides here. Go back to the beginning. All right, everyone see that okay? Great. All right, we'll jump right in. Thank you for joining the webinar today, everyone. We will be talking about SNAP and accepting SNAP and accepting SNAP online. So this is what we'll be going over, the different grants that we offer through the Marketlink program, who we are, the GrownBy platform, and how that can work for your CSAs. So as you heard at the beginning, I am the project manager of Marketlink, which is a program of the National Association of Farmers Market Nutrition Programs. The association was established in 2013 hand in hand with the Farmers Market Nutrition Programs, and it is actually comprised of all of those that administer the FMNPs. So you could have a representative from the Department of Health or the Department of Aging or the Department of Ag or all of those things for, there's about 45 programs across the country, some of which are also in Indian tribal organizations or are maybe just operating in a portion of a given state. So that group comes together once a year at an annual conference and discusses best practices, works closely with the Food and Nutrition Service that implements those programs. And also we implement these two grant programs currently. We'll get more into the grant details, but our other partners that you see on the slide are USDA. As I mentioned, the Food and Nutrition Service is the branch of USDA that implements all of the federal nutrition benefits programs. Novadia Group is our software and technology provider for the equipment grant. GrownBy, you'll hear a lot more about, is our partner on the SNAP Online grant, and then WorldPay is a processor that we work with as well. So this is an overview of the grants and services that we currently offer. The first on the left is the SNAP equipment grant. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that one today so that we can have plenty of time to talk about SNAP Online and your questions related to your CSAs. But the SNAP equipment grant is a means by which we can provide you with technical assistance to accept SNAP, and then also free equipment to be able to do so in person. So you could qualify for a free card reader, and then we can also get you set up with the TotalPay Go app, which is the only app through which you can accept SNAP currently. The second in the middle is the SNAP Online grant, which we'll be talking about in more detail today. That also provides you with a one-year subscription to the GrownBy platform. We help you get the PIN services and account set up so that you can accept SNAP online, and we walk you through every step of that process as well. We also offer some contactless payment options for the farmers market nutrition programs and incentive programs. So I know some of the organizations on here do run some of those matching programs. So if you'd like to talk more about those, we're happy to do so. You can see on the right-hand side, it is a QR code-based system. So we can shift from any paper coupons or token systems to an electronic version. So as I mentioned, we've been doing this for quite some time, since about 2013. So we have had more than $104 million in SNAP sales through our platforms. And then from direct marketing farmers and farmers markets, we've been able to have 49% of them redeem using our platform. This is a snapshot of the ongoing developments. I won't dwell on it, but as I mentioned, we are working on those incentive programs, translating those into an electronic option, expanding companion apps such as my Marketlink and the Snap Online program, and then working with EFMP programs across the country. So the SNAP equipment grant, as I said again at the beginning, we'll go through this quickly, but if folks have additional questions, I'm happy to answer them. Here's the overall process for this program. You apply for the grant at marketlink.org. It's a very quick and simple application. Then you complete the SNAP retailer application, and this is a prerequisite for SNAP Online as well, which we'll talk about, but we can actually, the members of our team can submit that application on your behalf. So we can help make sure you have all your information together, actually submit it through the portal, and then help track it to make sure that you keep everything on track to be able to accept SNAP. Then if you do want to accept SNAP in person, you would set up a TotalPay Go account and get that app set up on your phone or smart device, and then receive your card reader and equipment and get it all set up. Direct marketing farmers and farmers markets are eligible for the SNAP equipment grant. Other entities are not eligible to receive the free equipment, but we can help you with becoming SNAP authorized. So we get a lot of inquiries from folks that are aggregating products or maybe a delivery route. So we can help you through that application process as well. And then you can just purchase the equipment when it comes to that point of the process. This is what the grant covers. Technical assistance, as already mentioned, a free EBT card reader, which is Bluetooth enabled, and then a 1-year subscription to TotalPay Go. That has actually, just with the most recent grant award this past fall, USDA has said that if you process more than $500 in SNAP in the first year of the grant, you actually qualify to get a second year of the grant covered as well. You also receive a printer waiver since by regulation, SNAP customers are required to be provided with a printed receipt, but we have an exception to that. You can actually just email or text them instead if they do want a receipt. And then of course, we provide equipment setup and training, equipment advice and guidance, and then we can answer all questions about the program. It is a bring your own device program. So it's an app, as I mentioned, and it can be installed on any iOS or Android reasonably current device. If you have one that is very, very old, it might not work, but we can help make sure that you have the right operating system and so that it can work seamlessly on whatever device you choose to use. This is an overview of the costs after the grant year or potentially 2 years if you've processed that $500 in SNAP. It is $191.40 per year for that app or $19.95 per month. You can choose whether you want an annual subscription or if you want a month-to-month. In general, we say that if you're doing business for more than 6 months a year, that price break, once you jump up to the annual subscription, is worth it. We do have a handbook that has all of the nitty-gritty of the entire process. So if you'd like to read that, we'll send out these slides afterwards and you can get the link to that as well. And then we'll move over to the SNAP Online grant. So this is new for USDA. The first purchasing pilot started in 2016, and the first retailers in that pilot were the big box stores. The RFA for the farmers and markets was awarded in 2021, and the first farmer who we have here on the call today, Annie, completed the process in the winter of 2023. So it's a new model for USDA where the e-commerce provider is separate from the SNAP retailer. So we've worked with them to build out an entirely new process and enable farmers to add this to their offerings. This is an eligibility overview for the SNAP Online program. It is only available to direct marketing farmers. So distinct from the equipment grant program, farmers markets may not accept SNAP Online. There is some regulatory reasons for that, which we won't go into today, but as a direct marketing farmer, and particularly all of you offering CSAs, you are eligible for this grant. And on the right-hand side, similar to the other grant, you'll see what the coverage includes. It's technical assistance with the retailer authorization, as I mentioned before, a year subscription to the PIN services for accepting SNAP Online, equipment setup and training, advice and guidance, and any questions that you might have. So this is an overview of the process. As you can see, it's pretty similar to the equipment grant, but you start with the application at marketlink.org. Then you complete that SNAP retailer application. As I mentioned before, we can submit that on your behalf and work with you through that process. You create your GrownBy account, which Mike will talk more about in a little bit. Then you apply for your SNAP online certification, and then you test your store with Marketlink and GrownBy and become approved by USDA to have that store be active. And then I'll turn it over to Mike to talk a little bit about the GrownBy platform, and then we'll show you a bit of what it looks like.
Thanks, Amy. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Parker. I am calling in today from Cooperstown, New York, so right around the center of New York State, I'm a co-founder of Farm Generations Cooperative, which is the co-op that owns the GrownBy platform, and I'm also a farmer here, so I raise grass-fed beef in Cooperstown. So we started GrownBy, our co-op started GrownBy, I don't know, about 5 years ago now. And we started as sort of a platform because we were seeing a lot of e-commerce sites like trying to get into farming, seeing a lot of risk around that. At the time, me and my co-founder Lindsay were at the Young Farmers Coalition, the National Young Farmers Coalition, which she had co-founded in 2010. And we've just seen like a whole cycle of these different tech companies trying to get into like the local food space. And some of those have made great products, and some have made great products and gone out of business or been acquired or whatever it is. And we are trying to make like a less risky version, cooperatively owned version of what those companies were trying to do. And what we heard a lot of people saying was like this, great grand idea of getting farmers on a platform together. We are very much CSA focused, so we're trying to solve this use case for CSA farms, which we knew had a harder time fitting their business operations into something like Shopify, like an off-the-shelf e-commerce marketplace. So a lot of the features on GrownBy are meant for CSA farms, but can be applied for other kinds of business models too. So yeah, we are a farmer-owned e-commerce marketplace. If you sell on GrownBy, you will be invited to join our co-op. So 100% farmer-owned. The platform allows you to make unlimited customizable subscriptions or standard products, which are like non-subscription products, to make as many distribution points as you want, as many like promotions as you want. There's nothing that's like, limiting or like price tiers for GrownBy. It is a platform where you can be, you have your own shop and you can make online sales. And there's also a backend dashboard where you can maintain and reference customer data, customer contact information, your inventory records. It has payment tools, like you could place orders for your customers or send them invoices. So there's a lot of power behind it, not just the online transaction. It is usable on either like a laptop or on any kind of mobile device. So GrownBy is both an app or just a website that people can use. And we have a small team that will be able to support at any time, email or call. And anybody on our support team is somebody like me who either currently or formerly operates a small direct marketing farm. So we really tend to really understand where people are coming from with their support requests. And the pricing for GrownBy is that we charge a co-op fee, a 2% fee on credit card transactions on the platform. So there's no charge to get started on GrownBy. You could create your account and see what it looks like without having to pay anybody anything, or even without talking to anybody. It's kind of a platform similar to like Airbnb or Uber or something where you could get started as a seller just on your own. Just to reiterate, I guess, that GrownBy is the only cooperatively farmer-owned and operated sales platform. So if you see Farm Generations or GrownBy is like the product name, our co-op's called Farm Generations. And then I've got a couple short video demos that's going to show of just the account setup on GrownBy so people could see what it actually looks like. And then also a Snap Online transaction. I think before we start the videos, one thing that I want to mention because of the audience here is that, again, we're thinking about CSA and Snap, and I think it's pretty well known that Snap sometimes conflicts with the way that people run their CSAs, like just because of the practicalities of how Snap works as a program where people get their benefits on a monthly basis and sometimes run out of benefits. So it's hard for people who are in Snap to actually commit to a full season share in any way. So both for the regulatory reasons and for those practical reasons, the way that GrownBy works with Snap Online is that you can, if you're certified to accept Snap Online, you can mark only standard products as SNAP eligible that people would use their EBT card to purchase rather than CSA subscription shares. So we have Annie from River Queen Greens on the call, who I'm hoping after I do my little video demos can either show or just talk about the way that their farm has implemented and uses Snap Online to run their CSA. And in the video demo, the second demo, I'll show Footprint Farms store and the way that I'll explain a little bit the way they run their CSA. But there's multiple ways you could go about it, whether, and it just sort of depends on how it seems to make sense in your individual context to, process the sales. So anyway, before we get into that, let's just look at setting up an account on GrownBy. And Amy, if you want to start this. And I don't know if you can make it full. If you make it full screen, the bottom right, I think it might be a little bit clearer. So there's no audio to this. It's just me talking over a video. This is just the homepage here. So as you can see, there are a bunch of different farms on GrownBy. So if you're coming in as a customer, you'll see the farms that are near you if you have your location enabled, or you can search for a farm. But the way that most people use it is they actually you have your own unique link to your shop. So you'd probably send your customers directly to your shop rather than the GrownBy homepage. This is what it looks like to claim your farm. So you'd go in, you'd look for your farm, and then you end up on this dashboard. And the dashboard, this is your back end of GrownBy as a farmer. It walks you through a setup process where you create a little profile, and this is like a landing page where you put your certifications, put some photos, put some links to social media and that sort of stuff. You have a payments tab, and this is where you connect to Stripe for credit card payments. So everybody on GrownBy is required to be connected to Stripe so we could process card payments. This is also where you would connect to WorldPay for Snap Online. So I'm going to go through in the demo locations and zones, schedules, and products. So a big difference between GrownBy and another e-commerce site is that almost all of your products are going to be associated with a schedule. And that schedule is both the time and place or a distribution area. And that was like sort of the big use case. A big use case of farmers on e-commerce is like, you need to be able to tell your customers when and where they're going to get their product, because it's not like necessarily just at their home, within 3 days of them ordering or whatever. It's not like Amazon. So that's kind of the power of using a platform like this, is that you could be very deliberate about, this is where my products are available and when they're available. And you could have products that are on all sorts of different distribution schedules. So I'm setting up a product here. I'm just showing the different product types. So you could have different sorts of CSA shares, different sorts of standard products. There's digital products that are not associated with the schedule that people use for like CSA fees and stuff like that, like member fees. And then this is what setting up a product looks like. So you could have different buying options that are pretty customizable. And then all your different schedules that you can put them on. Let's see what else I do here. Okay, and then just a little overview. So you have all these customer accounts that you can drill down into, and you could see past, purchase data, invoices. You could do process refunds, and you could place orders on behalf of your customers, which I'll explain a little bit later. This is part of how Footprint Farm runs their CSA using Snap Online. And then there's various reports, distribution reports. There's a sign-in sheet that is both, you could print out a sign-in sheet, but also a digital version. So if you have other people running your distributions, they could actually be given access just to that. And they could tell you like who was picked up, who didn't pick up that week. All right. So that's a very quick overview of what GrownBy looks like for a farmer and setting up your account. And of course, we're always, our team's always happy to walk any farm through that one-on-one, to do like sit down on a video share like this and just set up your account together. But for the sake of time, let's just jump right into the other video, which is just what it looks like from the customer side to purchase an item using Snap. And the important thing for us here is that we wanted Snap Online to be very much just like the same process. And that was part of actually what USDA wants also, is like, this is not supposed to be some separate platform that like you're sending your Snap customers to. It's meant to be just like embedded, just the way that if you shop on Amazon or Walmart and you want to use Snap to buy your groceries, it's just a different payment option. So really this demo is not too much more exciting than what it looks like to buy anything on GrownBy, but at the end you'll see like how you choose your an EBT card. I think you just have to click starting. So this again is my homepage here. I think this is the right one, right? Let's see. Okay, yeah. So we're shopping for this is my farm. So you can see the little carrot icons indicate that something is SNAP eligible. Oh, I guess I didn't show. So this is what the profile page looks like. So you could send customers right to this profile page, or you could send them right to the shop, or you could send them right to particular products or CSAs. So you have a lot of unique links that you could send people from your own website. So somebody's purchasing, I didn't see what we're purchasing, but we're going to do a delivery of this. Oh no, I guess we're doing a pickup of whatever I just put in my cart. And you can see here, so again, this is a standard product, and these are all future distributions of that product. So this is one way that people will run their CSAs if they want to offer Snap Online as a payment method. So you can't do a subscription, but you can have your customers order ahead, and those are actually placed as individual orders, and an invoice will be sent to them on a monthly, or not on a monthly, like at the day of the pickup by email. So we could get into more of that once we're past the demo, but just to show you, so you just pull up, and this account has an EBT card already saved, but you can just add your EBT card at this point in the checkout. You can change the amount that goes onto the card. So how much, you don't only have like $10 in balance left for the month, so you only want to put $10 on that. And you get split it between EBT and credit card. This thing I'm circling there is you can optionally give your customers the option of covering all of your fees on GrownBy. So that 5% covers both any Stripe credit card fees and the GrownBy 2% fee. So that's pretty common. Most farms on GrownBy will give their customers that option, and most customers given that option will take the option of covering the fees. So last time we don't measure it in real time, but last time we did an analysis of it, about 60% of the fees were covered by customers on GrownBy. That's pretty nice. So in that case, you'd be using it for free. And with Snap Online, the transactions are free. There's no processing fee on top of it. Yeah, so that's the two videos I have of GrownBy. We could go into questions. The main thing I guess that I would want to convey for CSAs is that one method of presenting your CSA is just as a box or a share that you're purchasing week to week, and you can give customers the option to order it ahead of time. I think in a past demo video I showed Footprint Farm, but Footprint Farm in Vermont does it a different way, where their vegetable CSA gets sold out every year typically. So they didn't want to have this situation where they had some products reserved for Snap users, because they still wanted to do a subscription for their, most of their CSA members. So the way that they do it is ask their CSA members to order a subscription, just like any other customer would, and to mark it as paid offline. So at checkout, you could give your customers the option to say that you're going to pay on offline, which produces a invoice and it produces an order. So on your end, you have all that. They're tracked with the rest of your distributions and everything. And then what Taylor at Footprint Farm does is asks her CSA members if anybody's interested in using Snap Online to pay for their CSA shares week to week. And then she'll go in the back end. She has a hidden product that she orders for those customers, and she just orders it for every week that they've signed up for the CSA. And then every week they will get their invoices that they could pay using their EBT card before they come pick it up. So it's another way of doing it where it's a little bit like the SNAP portion of it is a little bit behind the scenes, but you don't lose some of the like desired features of like just putting all of your customers in the same CSA subscription. The downside to any of this, I suppose, is that like you can't actually require your customers in the same way that you do in a CSA, where they're kind of like part of your CSA. If they don't pick up their share, it's not like they're necessarily getting a refund unless you want to. But for SNAP customers, you can't really do that if you're not like distributing the product. You can't be charging to their SNAP benefits. So yeah, I would love to hear if any of you want to tell us a little bit more about how you fitted into your CSA before we open up the floor to questions.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Annie. I'm with River Queen Greens in New Orleans, and we've been selling offline EBT shares for our farm share for a couple of years, and then I guess we became eligible, or we became authorized to sell online in like May or June last year, and that's right when our season ends, because we're upside down here in New Orleans, so our season ends in June. So really this past fall was sort of our first full season of having customers able to purchase shares online with EBT. And we have, sorry, my dog is barking. We have a match system that we use with our farmers market organization, allows us to charge half price for EBT. So that's actually added a little bit of complication in terms of setting it up for us, because we need to have it be a half price item. So it's different. If it were the same price, people could just click on a share. I mean, they couldn't do the same way that Mike was talking about, because you can't have them be pre-subscribed, but we could have like a share that was, oh, is this our page? This looks like our page. Yeah, so you can buy that, our EBT only farm share, and those are all priced at half price size wise. And then we also do extra items that all have a separate half price option. I don't know if you can show that, Mike, but generally it works pretty nicely. So you can buy, there you go. And I've found that in general, it's been pretty smooth with the EBT. The one issue is that it doesn't automatically charge. People get anyone paying with a credit card, they automatically get charged each week. That's how we do our subscription. We do a week-to-week payment. Most people do week-to-week. They could pay all in advance, but most people don't. So EBT customers have to input a PIN every week for their share to get processed, and sometimes they forget, but it's not usually a big deal. We can normally hound them gently. And then I don't know if there's anything else that's useful for me to talk about how we set it up.
I think people will have lots of questions, and definitely chime in when your experience can help answer them, I'd say, because I think there's even a list of questions already here in the chat maybe we want to look at together.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think, Sadie, do you want us to just jump into the list, or I don't know if you've been keeping tabs on them, you want to just ask them, but however you think is best to approach questions.
Sure. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody who has been tossing in questions in the chat so far. Please continue to do that. And Amy has also been answering a few of them in the chat. So I think the ones that are coming up a few times is about integration with existing websites or payment platforms. Amy or Mike, if you want to talk about that a little bit, I know you've already answered it to an extent just in the chat, but that could be useful to clarify.
Sure. So I'll let so the one question I think that I haven't answered in chat format yet is that if you already use Square, if you can integrate the page from GrownBy into my website, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, it's separate. So
Yeah, the way
Go
that
ahead.
most people like quote unquote integrate GrownBy into their website is that they'll have like a shop button, or some people even have like specific buttons for their like different CSA shares. So you could say Spring Share here, and you click it, and it goes to your Spring CSA page, which would have all the shares in that CSA group. But most people will just say like shop here, and it'll bring you to that GrownBy profile or to the shop page. But it's not like you can integrate it to the point where it's like Shopify or something, where one page of your website is just like your shop. I'm sure you could if you wanted to develop that, but that's not like a built-in.
And then I think the other question that I haven't answered in typing format is, does GrownBy have the ability to change languages, and is there API access?
It does not have the ability to change languages beyond like, using like if you're using Chrome or something to access GrownBy, like Chrome can automatically translate web pages. Like that would be the way to do it. And our API is not like, we're not open source. We're open to integrations if there's something in particular that somebody is like looking to build or partner on. Like we're open to collaboration, but we're not like an open source platform.
And similarly, just to add in, someone had asked a question about other platforms being part of the Marketlink program, and we're certainly open to that. We actually started with 4 providers in our original grant, and GrownBy's been the only one that's completed the entire process of being authorized as a certified e-commerce provider through USDA. So we're happy to talk with other platforms that are interested in moving through that process. And then also with regards to food hubs, there are a few questions on aggregators and food hubs. We can assist with the SNAP application, the SNAP retailer application, and then kind of point you in the direction. We have, as you can imagine, gotten a lot of questions about these things from folks. So we're starting to work on aggregating some information and some resources for you as to how those types of organizations could become authorized and then be able to offer SNAP in some sort of e-commerce platform. There are some that have done it successfully across the country, so we can point you in their direction. And there's a couple, there's at least one other solution that's building out options for that. And then Ariana, I will, yes, I will, if you could direct message me your email, then I will be sure to connect you with my team member, Lisa, who's been coordinating all of that. And then Tracy says, could someone help us set up the linkage between the current site and GrownBy? We can try, for sure. And then it
Amy,
looks like Soraya has a, yep.
The handbook that you had up on the slides earlier, is that URL something you can share in the chat now to give people a glimpse before we get the slide shared out?
Sure. And then we have, it looks like Soraya has a question. Nice to, and
Yes.
some of you are also accepting SNAP Online. So thank you for going through the process, but Soraya, go ahead. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like when the testing's done and everything. And my question was, because I don't think I've completed the testing and full setup yet. So it has to be a standard product. And the reason why is because like EBT customers can't pay for something they haven't received yet. So they would have to pay every week, but they can reserve those orders ahead of time. And like, once they actually receive their box, if they haven't like, input their PIN or anything, that's when like you have the authority to be like, hey, so can you put in your PIN today, or like, whatever. But I wouldn't have any authority to like ask for any sort of payment until they receive their box.
Not exactly. Like you can order, like people can order ahead of time, and they can, pay days ahead of time or a week ahead of time.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. It doesn't have to be on the day of distribution necessarily.
Like if someone wanted to pay early, I didn't want to like somehow get in trouble for that because like I let them pay early, but they haven't received like their box yet or anything like that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem. That's totally like an intentional part of the system. And yeah, I think USDA understands that like online orders don't necessarily happen at the point of sale.
Okay,
More
cool.
often do not happen at the point of sale.
Awesome.
And also something that I'm not sure, I should probably add a slide to this effect, but we didn't really talk about the timeline of all this. So it's important to note that getting that first SNAP retailer authorization, it usually takes between 2 and 4 weeks, depending on whether you have all of your paperwork and all of your information ready. to submit. And as we get closer to the summer season and the busier farmers market season, that wait time goes up, as you can imagine, as the line gets longer. But then the online SNAP portion of the process, so you first get your SNAP retailer number, and then you go through another process to get your SNAP internet retailer number, and there's a whole bunch of steps. It's mostly emails that we help manage on your behalf, but it does take a significant amount of time. So budget potentially 6 weeks, potentially longer if USDA has more questions. 6 weeks probably is too short, maybe several months at this point. As I said, this is a new process, so some go through very quickly and some takes a little bit longer. We're still trying to figure out kind of what the average duration is to help a farm through the process. But as I mentioned, and as Mike said, we do the majority of it on your behalf. So it's really just getting us the information as we ask you for it. And then we email back and forth with USDA. We do all the testing on your behalf, make sure that all of those pieces are working. So just to clarify that a little bit, just so that it's very clear that if you start today, then you might be able to get it for this CSA season if your CSA starts in a few months, but it's more likely going to take a little bit longer. As Annie said, unfortunately, we didn't get everything set up for her until right when their season ended. So it's kind of working with USDA as best we can. There's a question as to what do you need in order to be considered eligible to receive SNAP payments. So to be an eligible SNAP retailer, for all of you on this call, you just have to be a direct marketing farmer that owns and sells more than 51% of your own product. So that's where I was mentioning before, food aggregators and folks that don't fall under that 51% figure, you fall into a different category. But if I assume that most of you are farming and the CSA is the bulk of your own production, and you would qualify as a direct marketing farmer.
Amy, you had mentioned earlier that the USDA has some restrictions and stipulations around how SNAP can be accepted for CSAs. Is there anything else besides that 50% benchmark that needs to be taken into account for the people on the line today?
Mike could probably speak to it better than I can. I'm sure he's more up on it. But in essence, the USDA said that you can pay 2 weeks in advance for a CSA because, as I think has been clear throughout this conversation, and as everyone on this call is aware, you can't, SNAP benefits are deposited on a monthly basis. So in essence, it's very rare that a SNAP participant would have enough to cover either a full CSA season or half in the beginning and half in the middle. So that's where USDA kind of made it possible for accepting SNAP for a CSA subscription, is to break it into that 2-week window. So you can pay, I think as Annie mentioned, they do weekly often. You could also have that 2-week availability. Is there anything else that you would add to that, Mike? I know that also the University of Vermont has a really good guide on this as well.
No, the only other thing, and Tracy gets to this in the chat also, is like, and you'll know better than me about this, Amy, is if there's any good guidance out there for what would prevent you from getting like the SNAP retailer authorization in the first place as like a CSA farm or like a very small farm. Like if having a mix of products besides produce is important, or like anything around seasonality of sales that's important.
In general, no. That's why USDA created the direct marketing farmer category, because it is so distinct from other SNAP retailers. Just as a point of reference, other SNAP retailers often need to have through at least 3 different types of products, at least 3 different varieties of each of those types of products. So there's just a bigger bucket of eligible foods that other retailers have to have on hand. So there's no, someone just asked also, there's not a minimum dollar amount that you need to do to take part in this program. Really, the idea behind all of these programs from USDA's perspective is they wanted to provide a no barrier to entry means of providing you all with a way that you can test whether or not this is right for your business. So in that first year, if you're able to build up enough of a customer base to support that, the subsequent cost of utilizing the app or utilizing GrownBy and WorldPay, then you can continue. But if you also decide to opt out after that first year, then you're welcome to do that too. Again, they just want to work on expanding food access and also expanding amount of SNAP dollars that are redeemed by direct marketing farmers and farmers markets, because it is literally $100 billion program with a B. And as of right now, farmers and markets are only getting less than 2% of those totals. So these programs have all gone a long way in moving that needle, but we still have a big chunk of the pie to be able to take advantage of. Monthly payments acceptable for weeks. I think it's just the 2-week window is the longest you can do. Yep.
There is some, like, I could conceive of if you did like, depending on how your distribution works, like if it's a bi-weekly or like every other week kind of distribution, and you're, paying on the first week, so then the next pick is within 2 weeks, I could see it doing once a month, but it would be pretty unique.
Mike or Annie, I guess I'm interested in hearing if you have any like anecdotes or experiences to share since transitioning to Snap Online across at your farm, Annie, or just across the farms that you're working with, Mike. If you've seen anything around like customer stories or expanding food access and a real impact on people, how's that played out since this came onto the scene?
Yeah, I'd also be curious for Annie's perspective on the question that Tracy just asked around like, because I know you're selling both CSA shares and individual products that are SNAP eligible, and if you see any kind of like trends with that with your customer base, like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that having the subscription thing, like it is a little tricky because you can't have the guaranteed like subscription, like customers who are using credit cards to pay. So the way we do it is people can just sign up for each week that we have a share, and if you have a subscription, you can't do that. You have to sign up every week. So EBT customers actually have more flexibility. And there's no way for us to enforce it other than to like email them and tell them that we would like them to sign up for everything, which we're not going to do. So in some ways, I think the EBT, it's smoothest for people who are just buying like that week. Like we do like a veggie box where people could just buy a la carte not a la carte veggies, but just a once a week or one-time purchase. And it works really smoothly for those customers who have EBT, and there's no like tracking them down to pay, because they pay, if it's paying for the next week, then they just pay at that moment, I think. And then also it's a little bit tricky if they run out of their EBT benefit mid-month, and then like a lot of them are planning on reserving it for their farm show, like they know that that's what they're using their benefit for, but sometimes they still run out, and then it gets a little tricky. Then they might have to pay offline on site because they didn't have the funds to pay through the online process. So it's not 100% smooth yet. It would be nice if it could be more like a credit card where it's just like automatically drawing down and we don't have to do that extra like admin for working with it. But I'd say overall it's a lot easier than having to do the in-person. I mean, there's something actually in some ways in-person was I don't know. In-person meant that if they were there, you could definitely charge them and they wouldn't be getting a share without having that payment that they forgot to enter the PIN for. But other than that, like it's generally pretty smooth to have the online. And I think it definitely makes people feel like previously, if they were an EBT customer, they would have had to email us to request an offline payment because we didn't want to have other people doing offline payments. So it just takes away that extra barrier, especially for people who are doing like a veggie box one time. They don't need to email us to have us do a separate additional step. They can just purchase what they need and that's it. And it's smooth and they show up and they've already paid and it's nice.
And that was a big part of like that consideration of treating all customers equally was a big part of what USDA was like mandating on us when we were designing this system. And what they think about with like the SNAP program overall was like just thinking about that consumer experience and like whether they're treated fairly and equally to other customers. And I think that's a good way to think about this too in general. Is like, how are you yeah, how are you treating like your Snap customers the same, and how does it make it like less accessible for some people to even join a CSA if like, you know, the thing they have to do to pick up their CSA share in the past might have been like my partner at Farm Generations, Lindsay, their CSA they didn't have internet at their pickup site, so they would have to like bring anybody that wanted to use Snap into their house, into their like basement office to like swipe their card, where they could get like a data connection. And like that just seems like, yeah, it's not like they're barring people from their CSA for like a cost reason, but it's like, you know, not the kind of customer experience that you want to force people into. So I think part of Snap Online is trying to like encourage more CSAs to think about that customer experience, and how your people using a different kind of currency is just a different kind of currency.
Mike, I have a question about whether, I know GrownBy has been thinking about doing more of a POS kind of function. I know that in our situation, it is tricky with people who are using EBT if they want to purchase something on site. I can't really do it because I'm no longer using the hardware, since I don't want to have two separate reports, and it's just more complicated to do it that way. What I can do is have them like just record it, and then I can send them an invoice later, but that's more complicated. Do you know if GrownBy will be offering a POS system that can take those in person?
We are I don't know how to say it.
We're in discussions about how to coordinate everything much more smoothly for you. Put it that way. Trying to figure out what will be provided with regards to development to make things address that particular situation. So
yeah, because we're definitely,
we already have the point of sale through Total Pay Go and the equipment grant, and then we also have the GrownBy. So we understand the challenge, and we're trying to figure out the best way to tie those together to make it function better.
yeah, and we're seeing that like maybe not in reality as much as like hypothetically right now, as the more farmers were getting to the Snap Online program, like get in and they're like, okay, I'm setting up my CSA now. Like, oh, what would happen if this happens? Like one of those scenarios is what happens if, you know, I run 4 drop sites on a Saturday and they're run by volunteers, and what if somebody shows up that hasn't paid their balance yet? You know, their invoice yet for that pickup. How can like they be charged on the site and stuff like that? And so that is something that we're like in the design phase of trying to figure out. Probably not for you this season, but hopefully by next season for you. And maybe by this season for some of the other folks in this fall.
There's a couple questions in the chat. One is, how is it handled when someone doesn't pick up their food? And so I'll let Mike and Annie speak to that.
I'm actually not, I mean, if somebody didn't pick up their food, I think you have to refund them if they'd already paid for it with Snap, because if you didn't distribute the food. So I think that is a risk that's on the retailer in a Snap transaction, of you can't charge them for it if they haven't picked up. I think if some portion of it is paid for with a credit card, you might be able to treat that differently according to like your own policies. But yeah, I think that's just Snap rules. You can't accept the benefits if you don't distribute the product, even if it's maybe not your fault.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's nice about having that PIN entry is that they have to be proactive, like very close to the time when they're going to be picking up their share. Whereas if it's just an automatic, we have a lot of customers who just don't come, or they forget, or they're just know they're going to be donating their share. So EBT customers are less likely to forget because they've had to enter their PIN. I mean, sometimes they don't come, and then it's like, oh, they actually didn't process it this week, so it's a wash.
And looks like Susan asked a question that maybe Annie, you're maybe best to answer, around how you deal with double up, your local double up programs.
Yeah, so the way we do it is we charge people half price, and then at the end of each month we see how many EBT sales there were and invoice our farmers market organization for that number. So they doubled that price. That is another thing to say about GrownBy. They have the reporting could be a little bit better. I think that's something that they're working on. We've talked about it before, but it is possible to pull the EBT sales out of a like larger sales report. So you can see, you don't have to like keep track of them on your own. They're there in the reports.
There's just one more question here that hasn't been answered in the chat, which is about meat specifically. So Mike, you might know that related to USDA and SNAP regulations. Anything special there?
I mean, you could only, like, you would have to sell, you can't sell illegal food products. So you would have to have it slaughtered at the USDA plant, unless there's some other kind of state rule in your state where you could sell like within the state. It's not the USDA facility. It also depends on the kind of meat, I suppose. So there's different rules for different types of livestock.
Yes, and I was going to say maybe at the 10,000 foot level too, meat is an eligible food. So that's actually the beauty of this program, accepting SNAP in particular. For some of you that may have participated in the farmers market nutrition programs, those are specifically geared towards fruits and vegetables, and many of the incentive programs are the same as well. Whereas a customer can go and shop at your farm or a farmers market, and with SNAP benefits, they can purchase, in general, 99% of the market basket that they want to purchase. So eligible foods for SNAP is everything essentially that's edible. The only things that are not allowed are non-food products. So if the example that often comes up is like maybe someone has cutting boards in addition to their meat sales, the cutting board would not be an eligible SNAP item, even though the farmer made it, for example. Flours that are not edible are not eligible. And then alcohol and tobacco, for obvious reasons, the government doesn't want to spend money on those. So that's kind of the 1,000 foot level also of what SNAP eligible food items are, if that's helpful.
Right. Any last questions from people? Feel free to come off mute or toss one more in the chat. We just have a few minutes left, or if anyone wants to share your own experience, if you've been working on accepting SNAP, expanding food access as a CSA farm.
So Martin, if I understand your question correctly, how would that work with the match if the customer purchased meat and that wasn't eligible for the match? I think this is where the beauty of GrownBy is, in that you can set up your products in a variety of different ways. So as we saw, Annie has the specific EBT only shares. So for meat products, you just would not have them as eligible. I mean, they would be EBT eligible, but you wouldn't have that match product, that the meat would never be included in the match product. Hopefully that's, I'm not sure if I explained that very well, but you can set it up in a variety of ways. Yeah.
I will say there's like a little workaround. So we don't we sell chicken that one of our employees is raising on our farm. And I don't have that as an eligible for it's EBT eligible, but not for the half price. But a lot of the things that people are purchasing, like honey or what do we have? Like eggs, because they're going to be buying over 50%. If they're buying that with their vegetables, the farmer's market is okay with them, with that being market match eligible too, because the assumption is that over 50% of the purchase is produce. So the reason I don't do the chicken is because that's more expensive, and it's possible someone would just come and buy a chicken and not be buying produce from us. But in general, it's as long as over 50% of the total purchase is vegetables, it's okay to have that match happen on non-vegetable items.
And it does very much vary across the country. I think currently there are more than 3,000 different incentive programs. So that would definitely be a conversation to have with whichever incentive program you're participating in. To Annie's point, that's how it works for them, but it might be different other places. I'm not sure if I follow the question. The matches, so for you to participate in a matching program, you have to enroll with the local entity that's offering that program. So there's a national nutrition incentive network that you could find your closest matching program. You might want to check that out. If you Google National Nutrition Incentive Network, it'll pop right up. I think they have a map actually of all the programs that they're working with. And then
actually, do it
Yeah,
online.
go ahead.
It'd be easier to explain it. We have the matching, it's still a program, but we can only do up to $20. Does hers match any amount of money? That's my question.
Right now, it's unlimited, but it has varied. Like, it just depends on the program at a given time. It has been like $60 max. Right now it's unlimited.
And then
All right.
is there, there's one more question. Is there a specific contact at Marketlink that I should refer to the folks at Farm? You can connect them with me. And I'll put I know we didn't share the contact slides, but I know that we will be sending the slides out for everyone. So you'll have that. And then Mike, do you want to pop your email into, I'm sure I have it memorized, but I'm sure I'll type it wrong.
You don't typo it.
As we're building out this program, it'd be good to incorporate the complexities of these. So that is part of what we've been working on. The challenge, as I said, is there are over 3,000 matching programs and they're all slightly different. So it's very difficult to build a technology solution that is able to accommodate all of that. But as I did mention in the beginning, we do have a system, we have built a system that works with incentive programs. So we do have a means by which if there's an incentive program that wants to shift to an electronic benefit, they can do that. And they can set, part of the process is setting up that incentive program to meet their needs. So we actually do have that available as an option. It just takes a bit more work on the part of the incentive program administrators to implement that and then get folks signed up. But in the places where it's operating, I know I didn't show a big picture of the app, but on the Total Pay Go app, there's essentially a bunch of different buttons that you can select for whatever tender type you're taking. And in those places, the matching program is another tender type for in-person. Ultimately, we're also working on adding that to the online. As I mentioned, this is a pilot and we just started in 2021. So long-term, that's definitely part of the roadmap, but it'll just take a while to get there.
All right. Thank you so much, Amy and Mike and Annie, definitely for sharing your story today. I know this hour definitely flew by, but we will have all of the slides and a recording out in a follow-up email. So if there are any other questions that any of you have, the contact information will also be included in that presentation. So you can find that afterwards in an email to you, and we'll also have it posted on our website, and the recording will go out over social media and on our YouTube. And then if you are able to take 10 seconds and just rank today's webinar from 1 to 5 in terms of the information that was shared, that is really helpful in informing our future programming. And stay tuned for more CSA Ideas Labs. We have one coming up in March and another in April that the details are just now being finalized. So we'll make sure to share those out over email and over Instagram and Facebook as they get scheduled. So stay tuned. Again, it's CSA week. Happy CSA week to everybody. Stay tuned with us the rest of the week as we celebrate all things CSA. And thanks again for joining the CSA Innovation Network, GrownBy, Marketlink, and Annie from River Queen Greens today for our presentation about expanding food access for everybody using SNAP online. Thanks. Hope you found it valuable, and we will see you next time.